Yo, what's going on, guys? Markstrom here, bringing you more Dead Matter coverage, as I know you're all anxiously awaiting your keys to jump in. Today, I have more closed alpha gameplay footage, accompanied by a Q&A session between our good friend Mr. Atomic Duck and Metamoth, one of the Dead Matter devs. Ducky's link can be found below in the description. To provide a framework for what you're about to see, Ducky is running a Ryzen 3300X, a GTX 1060, is streaming simultaneously from the same computer, and has roughly 160 ping to the server, so the performance you're about to see is not optimal. However, there's a lot of great info packed into this one. I'll be rattling off the Q&A session here, which will allow you guys to learn the most about the game as quickly as possible. Let's dive in.
How are they going to ensure PvE? It's a good question. You want to answer that one, Atmos?
So basically, the way we're looking at things, our balance already leans towards PvE. We want our enemies to be a real threat, and we're already at a point where you don't want to just go in guns blazing like some sort of crazy person, because that's going to get you killed pretty quickly. You know, if you make a lot of noise, our infected are going to swarm you, and they're going to chew you up and spit you out. So, you know, we're already working towards a sort of a balance where getting into a fight with somebody is a strategic decision, and we're going to continue to develop that as we go forward with the closed alpha and then early access.
Oh, all right. So character customization, I believe, is due for we're gonna see that expand over time, right?
Absolutely. So we have a lot of stuff in the works for it right now. Our character artist Dogtooth has been doing a ton of stuff with it, and going forwards, more and more will be added.
Okay.
Of course, if you're thirsty, we do have a vending machine right here.
Is this operational?
Yes, it is. So our vending machines are totally functional.
That's super cool, and that takes so $7 Canadian, $6 Canadian. I'm guessing the stuff that would give me the most hydration is probably like the most expensive, I would assume.
We haven't really gone too heavy into balancing that right now. We're kind of like anything else with balance. We're waiting for the closed alpha to go forward, so that way we can really get feedback from people and make sure the game feels really good and really satisfying to play.
Are super wide and widescreen supported?
They absolutely are. In fact, our lead developer, Nick, he actually runs on ultra-wide, and it plays really nicely and has a really nice cinematic feel to it.
How does carry weight come into play? Is it significant?
So currently there are no carry weight limitations. We're primarily right now focused on a cell-based system, kind of like a game like Stalker, for instance, where you have a limited amount of space and need to pack everything as efficiently as you can. Now, I understand you have a list of questions for me.
I do. Yes, I do. Okay. Are bows and crossbows planned?
So we do have plans for both bows and crossbows. They're not in for the closed alpha launch, but we realize that they're kind of key to what we're trying to do. So they're definitely going to be making their way in. And I know our animation lead, the guy who's really pulling all of our weapons together, is Shiny, and he would really like to do something with them and has plans in place for it.
How do we plan to combat hacking? Because obviously with every game, there's going to be hackers. All right, so what's the plans there?
So we're using easy anti-cheat for our anti-cheat solution. Beyond that, we are going to be taking measures against hacking and cheating. Excuse me. How rude. So we will be doing an anti-cheat solution on our end too, just to prevent hacking and other such things. I don't want to go into too much detail about it though, because what tends to happen if you start talking about that stuff is people start getting ideas and you enter into basically an arms race with hackers and cheaters. And that's not a situation you want to be in. I've been there. I've done that. It's a bad game. Don't play it.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely understandable. What do you think was the most difficult thing you had to deal with while developing Dead Matter?
Now, keeping in mind, I'm a relatively new addition to the development team. I've only been in for about 6 months, and one of the big things you tend to have to deal with when you're coming into an established team is they have workflows, they have lots of stuff in place already, and you tend to have to really learn and pick up their workflows and their tools. And working with those tools and learning them probably has been the single most difficult thing.
Tell me a little bit more about ballistics, bullet drop, you know, that sort of thing.
So in Dead Matter, we have a fairly complicated bullet simulation mechanic system. It's not, you know, we're not a ballistic sim. We're not going to pretend to be, but we do a lot with our weapons. And while I could absolutely, you know, sit here and talk about it, why don't we show it off a little bit? So I'm going to just, I'm going to grab myself a gun here. First big thing to keep in mind about weapons in Dead Matter is that they are actually set up with ricochet on their bullets. So we're going to use our lovely demonstration friend over here. I believe this is a member of our development team, Nahito. I could be wrong. But if I fire at his feet and just fire off a couple rounds, you'll notice he's actually being hit by the bullets.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so you got to be careful and mindful about where you're actually spraying your fire, because you can accidentally kill your friends without realizing it. So don't do that. We've actually had incidents during testing where we've accidentally killed each other. It also works on our zombies, of course. Now, the other thing is that bullets can penetrate. Now, with a 9mm, you're not going to see so much of it. But we do actually model based on the surface. So a metal wall like this, bullets can travel through it and hit whatever's on the other side. In fact, you know what? This is probably a little risky, but we're going to do it anyway. Follow me. What I'm going to get you to do is you're going to be the one... I guess I'll have to pull the trigger so your viewers can actually see it. But if you head to the other side of this building's wall here, I should be able to... Okay, goodness gracious. Excuse me. Thank you.
No problem.
Alrighty. Now, if you want to head to the other side of the wall and just stand on right on the other side in front of me here, I'll make sure I'm lined up with you. I'd even face hug right here just so I don't miss you.
Okay.
Oh, excuse me. None of that. Thank you.
They're very persistent.
Alrighty, and I'll just drop a couple shots of that wall. You take any hits? No, the material's not set up properly on this. So this wall here thinks it's made of cement, which blocks your rounds. So while it's not what we wanted to show, it does actually prove it's trying to explain it nicely. How will the lockpick system work? That's actually a good one. So, I don't know how terribly familiar our community might be with this indie title called Fallout. However, Fallout 3 and onwards has a lockpick system. Bethesda's really put a lot of time into developing various lockpick systems over the years, and the one they're using in a game like Fallout 4 is fairly close to what we have. However, instead of it being just a half of a radius with sort of marked hotspots for picking a lock, we instead have a fully rotary lock system that you can pick at without any marking points. So it is far more a high effort task to actually get into something. We want lock picking to be challenging so that way players actually have to put in the work and it actually takes a bit of time for you to break a lock.
Are we expecting wipes like Rust?
So we're really aiming for servers to be sort of a longer term thing. However, we also realize that some players aren't going to want their servers to run out of supplies, or, you know, people might come in and start doing really silly things like, you know, deforesting half the map, because cutting down trees is something that totally does exist in our game. So, you know, you might decide your server might need a little bit of a reset, and that'll be a thing. We're looking down the line at adding a system so you can selectively reset things.
Nice.
That means you might be able to wipe, you know, the world state while keeping people's inventory, for instance.
Nice. Okay, I like that. So, like, essentially, it's up to the server owners. To dumb it down a little bit, it is up to the server owners whether you want to do that sort of thing, whether you want to do like a selective wipe or a full wipe.
Absolutely.
How big is the map? That will be 7.5 kilometers squared by 7.5 kilometers squared. Yeah.
Yep, that is correct. It's worth keeping in mind that it's not a flat plane or anything, so there is a lot of variation, and the world tends to feel bigger than it actually is. I mean, you've probably noticed even just standing where you are, things seem huge.
Can we play as a zombie after dying to zombies?
So, I'm a big fan of games like Left 4 Dead. I really like the way they handled their multiplayer, and I think playing as the Infected's really cool. However, that's not really going to fit with what we're doing with deadmatter. Now, we do have plans down the line that your corpse could end up zombified, and you will have to actually kill yourself to get your gear back. However, that won't be immediately for the closed alpha.
Will there be factions, and is there a reputation system or quests that we can do for those factions?
For sure. So we're going forward with a faction reputation system, and factions will have quests. Alongside that, killing members of factions would kill off your reputation with them, and some factions may not like things you do. Like, if you go around just, you know, carelessly murdering everybody, your main survivor factions probably aren't going to much care for you, because nobody wants to deal with, you know, a crazed murder host.
I believe we have questions about Windows, like they broke in clean stream, right? Like when we showed them being shot out, they broke, and somebody was asking, I believe, whether they like fragment away or whether they respond differently to different types of weapons and calibers.
Right. So, I guess over here, we got some lovely windows here. Now, when Clean was streaming, he had a shotgun. And shotguns are really good at making windows just go away.
Sure.
However, with lower caliber weapons, shoot, this house is broken right now. But
Okay, that's fine.
that's a shame. But basically, lower caliber weapons won't just immediately blow out windows. They will actually cause them to shatter. They won't go away, but they're broken. And then if you shoot them again, they'll totally break. Now, we are going to be implementing a new system for handling physics and object destruction in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
And that system will actually allow for the windows to fragment more accurately.
Okay, nice.
That's something you can look forward to us toying with and trying some implementations with during the closed alpha.
Yeah, because I believe so far we've seen ones where like the windows crack and then break, and we've seen ones where they like full on just shatter in one shot. So it's nice to know that we're going to get some different variations of that, I guess, as time goes on.
Absolutely.
What is the plan for optimization going forward? Looking at DayZ, for example, performance is a nightmare on any system, so I'm just wanting to know what the devs have planned in order to avoid any similar issues.
So optimization for us is kind of a big deal. You'll notice that in an area like this, performance is pretty good. Now, mind you, our world isn't finished yet, but we're really trying to aim for good, steady performance wherever we can. So out here, for instance, on a middling setup, you're getting 50, 60 FPS, depending on various factors, and it's not as consistent as we'd like it to be. We're not going to pretend the game's perfectly optimized. However, it's in a pretty okay place right now. Now, I'm going to teleport you off to another place. This is an area that doesn't perform as well or consistently, but it's still totally playable. Just because I feel like, it's totally fair for our users to see that, while everything is not perfect, things still do work pretty well.
Mm-hmm. Will there be cannibalism?
That is absolutely planned.
Outside of food and water requirements, do we also need to sleep?
So that's kind of the issue with games like this. We've got a very large multiplayer community, and it's very hard to get everybody to go to bed at the same time. That doesn't really work well for what we need. So for the time being, we're kind of just avoiding that system. This isn't a game like Minecraft where it's a very creative endeavor for the most part. Mm-hmm. And it feels weird for us to, have everybody in the like somebody put out a server-wide announcement, okay guys, it's bedtime. That doesn't really fit with what we're doing. So for the time being, it's, always awake all the time, which is, I totally admit, funny in its own way, but we think it'll be more conducive to interesting gameplay. It also means you have to deal with the world at night, and that's an experience unto itself. It is dark, it is spooky, and you're going to have a bad time if you're not prepared.
Will this game be more PvE or PvP orientated, which comes from Marcus_P1007?
So we're very much aiming for a heavier balance towards PvE. As you've seen, our infected are rather persistent, and they can take quite a few hits. Even, firing a weapon at them like a pistol or a common rifle, they can tank a hit or two. And if you're making a lot of noise and you have a limited supply of ammo, unlike us right now, because we're, kind of admitting it up, you're going to want to, more often than not, maybe run, because you don't want to risk burning all your resources in a single engagement.
Will there be a watermark during the closed alpha?
Absolutely. We have a few systems in place to prevent leaks. We are taking the NDA very seriously, and I know it's a point of contention among a lot of people, but it's really important to keep in mind that, it's very common among closed alphas to have a watermark and to have an NDA on it. Generally, teams aren't quite as open and don't talk as much about it because people don't like it. However, it happens quite often.
Is VoIP going to trigger zombies if you're nearby?
So currently, no, VoIP does not trigger zombies. We're kind of on the fence about that because we want people to use our VoIP, and if everybody realizes that using VoIP is just going to bring down the hammer of, dead God on you, you're not going to use it, and everybody's just going to say, hey, we have Discord, let's just voice chat over that.
Yeah. Questions about how will logging off work?
So for the time being, if you log off, you log off. We are going to be putting in a system to combat logging. The current time we're looking at is about a 15-minute timer because we really do not want people, oh, it appears that I've disconnected it. I think the server may have just gone down for one reason or another. It's being restarted for us right now, however.
No problem. That's all good. Things like that are going to happen.
But so basically, we really want to prevent combat logging, and it's really important to us that players are planning ahead and being ready to, deal with whatever comes. So finding a safe place to log out is part of that.
Sure, absolutely.
While we're
Is
having
this...
oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Is this the latest version that we're playing right now?
No, we do have other changes that are down the pipeline. However, that's not on Steam currently.
Maps and map items, are those a possibility, or are they in right now?
No, maps will be in early on in the closed alpha. We do have the system implemented for it. It's mostly getting the art and all the mechanical stuff built for it now.
Okay, that makes sense. Will they be flying later on, like a homemade heli? I believe planes and helicopters are planned for later down the line in development. That's like quite a way off, but later on, right?
Yeah, so that's going to be something later on. I've heard early access floated as when we might end up doing that, but I can't confirm right now, I'm afraid. That's just kind of far off for us.
Yeah, so it's gonna come, chat. It's just obviously stuff like that is gonna take a lot of time. Are zombies able to spot flashlights?
Currently, no. That's something we'll definitely be looking at, though, I think.
I'm getting questions about night vision. Can we expect to see any night vision?
That's something we're very strongly considering doing, with the caveat that we would be modeling Generation 1 night vision units with all of the limitations that brings with it.
So I've got questions about basing in vehicles as well. I guess that would be more of like a nomadic lifestyle. There are options for that, right?
At closed alpha launch, it won't be in, but we do absolutely intend to be adding it so you can use campers to set up a home on the road.
Awesome. And I mean, then you've got like tents as well. Like we've seen tent items already, and campfires and stuff like that. Like all that sort of thing is there, and either now or later. So
for sure, we really plan on doing a camping system so that way players can really settle down and do what they will.
Out of curiosity, what is the strongest weapon in the game?
Now, that's hard to quantify because, I could take the, after-school special route and say your brain, and that wouldn't totally be wrong. Thinking through and being careful in this game is going to save you much more than any gun or, katana ever would. Now, at the same time, we're here for the guns, and for our top-tier weapons, a lot of them are going to be, powerful, fully automatic firearms, which are incredibly uncommon, but will give you a massive leg up in some situations, provided you use them smartly.
Will there be a suicide mechanic?
We have plans to do something with that down the line. Yes.
Will I be able to buy upgrades like the armored hazmat pack after the closed alpha launches?
So the closed alpha packs will be available after the closed alpha goes live. In fact, all of the closed alpha packs that are of not a limited quantity will be available up until the end of the closed alpha. If you want to take some time, see some feedback from people, and then come into the closed alpha, that's totally understandable, and that's totally something you can do. If you want to buy the closed alpha last day of the closed alpha, you're more than welcome to.
And the armored hazmat pack specifically, like the armored hazmat.
I believe is a limited pack, so there's a limited number, but as long as we have them, you can buy it. Yes.
With regards to player jerseys as well, because they're from the jersey pack, will those be in the closed alpha? And if not, will we be notified when those are going to be implemented?
So once we are in a place where that is sort of part of our development focus, yes, we will contact people about them. That's a dead person's pile of stuff, I guess. So basically the way it's going to work is you're going to be emailing people about the pet pictures and jerseys as they become focuses for us, and then we will begin implementing them. People will know when we start working.
Will there be localized weather to specific areas of the map, or is it map-wide weather?
At the moment, the weather is map-wide. Given the size of the map we're currently using, it doesn't make much sense for you to see a lot of weather variance.
And will weather and seasons affect zombies and AI survivors? And that one's from Olhi on Reddit.
So at the launch of the closed alpha, we will not be doing the full season system we intend to do. However, later on, we totally do have plans for a weather system that will impact zombie behavior.
I would like to know if you have any plans for in-game events that require multiple players to team up.
Well, at this time, we are going to have some quest stuff. It's a little to be decided how big we might go with that with player involvement and the way the instancing in it might be handled. But it's something we're absolutely going to be examining.
how much content will be in the first build of the alpha release? And I know that's a bit of a loaded question, but if you can try
5 whole
answer that.
contents.
5 contents. 5 whole
No,
contents,
so-
chat.
We're showing right now that we've got a lot in the world for you to explore and to loot. While we aren't showing it right now merely because it would take us forever to actually do anything worthwhile with it, the claim system is in. You can fight, you can explore. There's a lot to be found in the world that we haven't even started to touch on. So I think you'll find there's a fair bit of content in there. Mind you, the closed alpha isn't just going to sit in this state forever until the early access launch. We're going to continue to update and to iterate as the closed alpha continues. So you will see more content as time goes by.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is definitely one of the best ways to get ourselves some food. That's for sure.
Yes. So hunting is going to become increasingly more key for players as time goes by. You're not going to be able to rely on, just stockpiling Pop-Tarts from the local convenience store forever.
Will meat go off after a certain amount of time or anything like that?
We are going to be doing a decay system for pretty much every major item in the game. And
Okay.
that could be with weapons, breaking down and needing maintenance, or that could be that, your meat's gone bad.
Will you be able to create player clans and factions?
Well, as you've seen, we do have the player grouping system, so you can group up with any
Yep.
players you find in the world. Now, we don't have any in-game support for clans, but clans are more than welcome to form, and when players are grouped up, they're able to work together on buildings they've claimed and such things.
Does the dev have FPS drops? That's actually a good question. Are you seeing the same FPS stutters that I'm seeing
I am
right now?
seeing some. I'm not seeing as marked an effect, but that's down to the system I'm running on. I'm currently running on a Ryzen 9 at 2060, so,
Here you go, chat. Here you go. What's available to fortify a base? Code locks, lockpicks. So we have go on, Metamouth. I'll let you go for that one with base fortification right now.
So, as it is, base fortification at the launch of closed alpha is going to be very limited. We're going to allow you to lock up your doors and build some limited fortification. Okay, what the hell was that?
I think that was a car going off.
Well done. So yeah, there'll be some limited fortification. However, our plans are ultimately that you're going to be able to do things like, bar your windows up heavily and build traps and the like to keep your base safe, not just from other players, but also the infected who will try to get at you if you start getting a little too rowdy and noisy.
Auto run feature. Is that something you're considering?
I don't think it's been brought up, but I'll certainly mention it because I can see it being rather handy.
Stamina, I believe, is a thing.
It is.
That's the lungs down here. That is our stamina. We
Really
have.
see it at play if you're really going at it with a melee weapon over time.
Will there be an NPC follower system like Skyrim considered, especially for single player? I think I know the answer to that one, but go ahead.
We don't really have any plans for that right now, no.
How important is micromanaging your food stats and whatnot? So this is a good one because I'm sure a lot of people are thinking scum when they're asking questions like that.
We don't want to go to the extent of scum with it. We want to balance it so that it's something you have to plan for and be cognizant of, but you're not, spending your days counting how many grams of protein you've taken in to ensure that you are meeting all the needs for your balanced diet.
How can you know your blood type?
Part of that will be perk-based.
Yeah,
Beyond
so we
that,
have
it may be a randomized character trait otherwise.
Yeah, so we have a question mark here. I would imagine that there will be an item for us to use to identify our blood type, maybe? Like a blood test
it's a
kit?
blood testing kit. You can actually find it in some of our medical containers already.
The tool belt system. I can tell you a little bit about that one. We've kind of touched on that already today. Let me just turn God mode off so I don't die. So this is our tool belt down here. From my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong here, anything we put in this tool belt on a normal server, we will keep through death. That'll persist through death, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So basically the idea is when you die, everything else on your body will remain on your corpse. So you can go back and retrieve it down the line. We're going to add a system so your corpse can end up being infected and zombified, so you can actually have to go kill yourself to get your gear back. Otherwise, though, the only things you're going to get to keep are what's on your tool belt.
Do you have a flashlight by default when you spawn? Okay, so this one we answered as well a while ago. I can use the flashlight because I'm on a dev server, but I think there'll be an item, correct?
Yeah, there actually is a flashlight item right now you can use.
Can you get silencers and how effective are they? Yes, I believe I can.
There are
Give me 1
suppressors.
second.
I know there's a 1911 tactical variant that already has an improvised suppressor. We also have weapons like the AS Val with an integral suppressor. And
Yes.
they're not perfect suppressors because they're suppressors and they still make a fair bit of noise. The comparison you often see for people who aren't super familiar with them is imagine somebody slamming a car door as hard as they possibly could. That is what it sounds like to hear even a largish pistol caliber suppressor fired.
Wow. Okay. A zombie spawning when you fire. Yes, they are being drawn to the sounds. They are not being drawn to our location as we move. They are being drawn to where we made the sound in the first place, which is super cool. Nice. Okay, so do we have vehicle damage implemented at this time?
In its basic form, yes. You can even accidentally cause the fuel tank to blow, which is a little arcadey, I know, but a little chance for things to go wrong is always nice to have in a game like this.
Awesome. Okay, now we've already answered questions about sleepers and stuff like that.